This is Top Shop Podcast.
Shop Podcast.
Top Shop Podcast.
Podcast for automotive service business owners by Paul Donahue.
All right, so hey, Top Shop Podcast listeners, we've got another great owner over 2 decades, 28 years, coming up on 3 decades of experience in this industry. So, and that's what Top Shop Podcast is dedicated to. We want to make sure that we find the shop owners that have been in business over 10 years, because the ones that start a shop and make it to that 10-year mark is only 4%. Did you know that, Keith?
Yep, I did. I heard that.
Yeah, so you're a 4%er, and that's the criteria we set to have owners on the show, so we can get some of this great experience that you guys have recorded, so for posterity. So Kieth Katz Quality Service Center in York, Pennsylvania, had the shop for 28 years. So let's start from the beginning. How'd you get here?
Well, my mom and my dad. No, I'm just kidding.
There you go. That's all right.
Honestly, my grandfather was a mechanic.
Oh, wow, your grandfather.
And so whenever he'd come, he'd kind of tinker with Dad's car, and I was always right beside him tinkering with him. And so that really is what got me interested in the automotive industry. And so back in 1981, I started my career in this field and never looked back.
Wow.
I can tell you that somewhere along the way, I don't know, maybe in the late 80s, early 90s, I was like, you know what, maybe I'd like to own a shop someday. Kind of like a goal/dream at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working for a guy at the time in a shop in East York here, and he said to me there was some training coming to town for owners and service managers, and he says, hey, would you like to take this training? And I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I took the training with him. It was 5 months. We would meet on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then the next month we'd meet a Thursday, Friday, Saturday again. So that happened for 5 months. It was all about how to really run a profitable automotive repair shop. So I started taking the things that I was learning and implementing them into his business. And his business started to take off like crazy. In fact, his accountant, he said to me one time, his accountant said, what are you doing different? You're making a lot of money now.
Right.
So these things were implemented, and I'm like, you know what? If I can do this for him, I could do it for myself. And so then I was like in the 97, I was talking with some other guys about this, and I had a partner at the time that I was like, hey, this would what I'm thinking. And he was like, yeah, let's go for it. So in September of 1998, I started my own business and grew it from myself, and I,
Right.
to a point where now I have 3 technicians, service advisor, service manager, and myself here now. So that's kind of where we came from.
That's awesome. So now the shop that you currently own, Quality Service Center, that this was not an established shop that you purchased. You started it from scratch.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
I started it from I rented a building that had room for 2 lifts, put 1 lift in and just left the other bay empty at the time.
Right.
And that's kind of how I started, and grew from 1 building to then I rented another building that was beside it, ended up with 3 lifts and a technician and a service advisor. And then I bought the building that we're currently in. I bought this in 2003.
Oh,
So
congratulations, because
yeah.
that's a big milestone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I talk to shop owners, I always encourage them. I don't care who it is. If it's a restaurant owner, I don't care who it is. If they're renting, I encourage them to be able to focus on buying the property, because a lot of times that is the retirement. That's the, so they buy the building and 20, 30 years later they go to sell and they're selling an established business and with the real estate and the real estate's a big part of it. So
Right,
yeah,
right.
yeah. So what what changes the biggest changes in the last 5 to 10 years that you see that are impacting this industry? What do you think they are? The biggest changes?
Well, the biggest changes is a lot of the safety things that they're adding to cars, the ADAS systems, the um, oh my gosh, there's just so much that they're putting on cars now to make them more safe, to make them almost drive themselves. I know we do have some that do drive themselves now, but um, it, the collision avoidance stuff, the all the radar detection that's on them now, that's been the biggest change in the past 5 to 10 years. And also, the technician issue, everyone always wants to talk about the technician shortage, and there is. I'm not going to deny that, but we had to start looking at what can we offer differently than everybody else is offering. And so that's really played a big part into how we've reshaped some of the things that we do here in order to attract good talent.
Yeah, speaking of attracting good talent, that's one of my top questions I ask every shop owner with your kind of experience. Any tips on finding, hiring, and retaining good techs? Got any magic fairy dust out there? It's going to help us help a lot of these shop owners.
I
Uh,
don't know if I want to give away my secrets. No.
uh-oh. You
Well,
know,
I have a coach that I work with,
oh,
and
okay,
um, when we were going through a spell where we just couldn't seem to find good help, and we were really struggling. It was right there shortly after COVID.
okay,
He said to me, he said, we need to find what can you offer that nobody else in your area offers, because you go to anywhere and they're like, yeah, we got vacation time and we got sick time and we got holiday pay and we got retirement benefits and health insurance. We all have the same things. So what can you offer that's different? And a friend of mine has a shop up in Wisconsin. At the time, he had switched to a 4-day work week, and he did it in order to attract good talent. So I talked to him about it and this and that, and I kind of played it through in my head. And I talked with my service manager, and I said, "How can we do this? How can we do this?" And he says, "Let's just do it. See what happens."
right.
So we went to a 4-day work week about, I guess it's been about three or 4 years ago now,
Oh, wow, okay.
and we haven't skipped a beat. I put it on as a trial. I said, we're going to try this. If anything starts going backwards, if sales start going down, if
Hmm.
customer retention starts going down, if I see anything going backwards, we're gonna end it and go back to 5 days. And we haven't skipped a beat. We just still keep taking off. So I know two of the guys that I hired, I always ask them in the interviews, like, "Hey, why you want to leave your current job?
Yeah,
What are you upset about?"
good question, right.
And both of them said, "I'm not really unhappy where I'm at, but I like the idea of only working 4 days and having a 3-day weekend." So it really
So
made a big difference.
that's helped.
Yeah,
4-day work week has helped pull in good techs.
yep,
I've never heard that angle. That's a really good one. How many techs? Yeah, I'll work 4 10s.
yeah.
Like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off.
Well, the one guy that works for me, he said, what I like about it is he does a lot of camping. And,
Speaking of,
when you work 5 days a week, you can't get in till Friday night. Well, that's when everybody else is coming in. He said now
yeah,
he drives his truck to work, pulling his camper. He leaves here Thursday after work. He goes to the campground, basically has it to himself for an entire day till everybody
okay.
else comes in.
Yeah.
So he absolutely loves it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot about shops going to the 4-day work week, but you're the first one to tie in being able to pull in good techs from other shops that say,
Hmm.
"Hey, I heard you guys got a 4-day work week here, and I heard it's a good place to work."
Yeah.
So
Even my
that's awesome.
my my one service advisor, when I was hiring that position, She came in and she says, "This is the job for me. I need this job. 4-day work week. My husband works 4 days. It'd be great to be able to work 4 days and have off when he has off and da 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 da." So again,
Mhm.
attract another service advisor because of it too. So it definitely made a big difference.
Do you have any females service advisors?
I have one currently, yes.
Okay, all right. I'm just hearing more and more of this from shops, and it makes sense to me.
Hmm.
When there's a woman up at the front, their amount of bookings from females go up.
Yeah,
Because
I don't know if that I never really tracked to see if that changed anything
sure.
like that,
Mhm.
but I've always had um like a customer service rep that was always a female out front, and it makes a big difference when especially the female population comes in and they're like, "Oh," or when they call and she answers the phone, and it does make it makes it a whole lot more settling. So I should say always, I've had a customer service rep for many, many years now. This is the first time that I was able to get one. And then I said, "Hey, would you have any interest in learning how to be a service advisor?" And she said, "Absolutely." And she's a rock star. She does a phenomenal job. She really
Okay,
does.
awesome. Yeah. I'm glad to hear that. So I'm a real supporter of Amazing Women in Automotive.
Hmm.
And all of our customers, we ask them to become members, and then we take that logo and get that right in the top part of their homepage of their website, because subconsciously we're sending good signals to, oh, I'm looking at this shop, I'm looking at this shop. She don't know why she picked this shop, but she did. It's all
Hmm.
subconscious, yeah. But they see, hey, this shop supports women in this industry, So
Yep,
all
exactly.
we lots of little things like that are proven to get more conversions. So since we're on culture, I think back in the 20 some years ago, you mentioned culture and people would be like, what? Shop culture, but now it's really important. And from what I've learned from interviewing a lot of other successful shop owners, is the culture in the shop spills out in the community. You got people that deliver parts, they hear what's going on. They talk to, they know what's going on. So I'm gonna look into my crystal ball, and you've had techs walk in your door and say, "Are you hiring? I hear this is a good place to work."
Yeah. Um,
You have
the
had
cul-
that happen?
I have not had that happen,
Or you haven't
but
had that happen? Okay.
but culture is a big deal, and we really try to bring the family culture into our
Oh, family
shop here.
culture. Okay. That's
Um, because we will like and I tell them when I interview them, I show them the lunchroom and there's a little kitchenette in there, and the whole reason we put that in there is because every other week my wife comes in and makes lunch for everybody.
oh wow.
So we do lunches together every other week. We celebrate birthdays together. We do things outside of the shop, like we went and did go-karts together. We went and did there's a place that has like laser tag and all kinds of
Hmm.
other games. Went and did that. We usually will in the summertime. I'll have them over to the house and we'll do a picnic together. It's all about, and when we do those items, we tell them, "Hey, bring your spouse." Sometimes we say, "Hey, bring your kids too." It depends on what
Hmm.
we're doing,
Yeah.
but we really like to instill that we're a family. We spend so much time together. Do families have their issues? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, we all need to make sure that we can get along with each other and so to speak, love each other. So,
Right.
um, the culture is a big deal, and I work hard to preserve that here.
Yeah, because I've talked to shop owners that have said that they worked hard to develop a culture, and then, they got busy doing other things, focusing on the shop or whatever. And it's one of those things that it's got to be maintained like a car. You can't look the other way. But you have
Right.
given me the number one answer is you guys eat together. The picnic thing at your house, that's definitely different. I haven't heard that one. That's a great one. I'm sure you invite the kids, right?
Hmm.
Yep,
Hmm.
for that one. And then outside activities. So those are the biggest things that I hear is we make sure that we eat together as a team, and that we do outdoor um, we do outdoor activities.
Right.
Um, why that popped up. So
That's okay.
finances, money, no shop's going to make it 28 years without some sort of a solid, financial plan and strategy. Do you have any tips for the newer shop owner or maybe even the experienced shop owner on how you've been able to handle finances, major purchases like, new tire equipment and alignment machine stuff? Any tips on that?
Well, I'm a little bit different than most people.
Okay.
I believe in living a debt-free life. So um, I always did that at home. I don't believe in any kind of debt at home except for the mortgage, and I even paid that off early, and I carried that over into my business. And one of the key things that really was a life changer for me is a book called Profit First. Not sure
Okay.
if you've heard of the
Yes.
book,
Yep, I've got it. I haven't read it yet.
but
I do have it. I got a stack of books I need to read.
well, it's funny because a lot of the principles in there are the same principles I live by at home. And I was like,
Okay.
wow, why didn't I ever bring this over to my business? That's ridiculous. So I started applying those to my business. And one of the things they say is, you need to have separate checking accounts for different things. And so I now have a checking account for my operating expenses. I have a checking account for my taxes. I have a checking
Okay.
account for tools and equipment. I have a checking account for new hires, and then I have my profit first checking account. And I'm a little crazy with numbers, so every day I go and I make my withdrawals and deposits into different accounts, moving stuff around.
Okay.
And so, like you say, when something comes up, and I'll give you a good example, we needed to replace our tire machine, and I had the Hunter guy come in because I liked their equipment.
Right.
He showed me a machine, and I'm like, okay, well, how much is this? He said $30,000. I'm like, well, that's a lot of money. But I went and looked at my tools and equipment account, and I had 40, I don't know, 40 some thousand in there. So I'm like, all right, let's get it. Wrote him a check and paid for it in full. So it can be done, just a matter of disciplining yourself.
Okay. Yep.
So that's kind of what I do now. And so I just keep building those accounts up. And when we need piece of equipment, we pay cash for it. And I know there's going to be people out there like, well, you shouldn't go cash poor. And you know what? I get it. Everybody runs their business a little bit differently, but
Sure.
I've always lived my life at home, and that's how I live my life here now. So that's been very helpful in being able to maintain a healthy financial balance here at work.
Yeah, and that's really, really good financial advice for any shop owner. So I've heard, one shop owner say, "Well, I put 3% aside, and that, I don't touch it." And then at the end of the year, he does something. Oh, I think he puts whatever balance into a 401k or whatever. They have different strategies. Your strategy is very, very sound. Having a separate account for each one of these things, and your profit first account. That's what you pay you from, right?
That's that
That's
that goes to me.
that goes to you. So that's a great account to have. And then
Yeah,
you've got separate accounts. So that's really, really solid financial advice for any shop owner for sure.
and honestly, over the years, if something comes up, we have a bad month. I can tell you, January of 2025 was a very, very slow month for us. And you know what? Just because it's slow, the expenses go on. And so sometimes I have to dip into that profit first account to take care of some bills, but that's okay. I have it. I'm not going to close up or fret or have to borrow money to do it. It's just what I use to keep things going.
Okay, awesome. So 28 years ago when you got started, um, how old were your kids? Do you have kids?
Yeah, I have two kids. Well, my son's 37, so that
Okay,
would make him 11. And
11,
my
yeah,
and so that means my daughter would have been 10,
10
10
and
and 11.
The reason I ask is work-life balance. So, especially in those earlier years when you're just getting started. So, the shop owners, like I said, that have started the shop from scratch and made it to 10-year mark is only 4%. So in those beginning years, there's probably, there's been more than one wife or a repair owner told me their wife had to rein them in a little bit. But any advice? Because you've given some great advice on other topics, culture and finances. Any advice on work-life integration that you?
If I can tell you that when I started, I made it a point that I was not going to be one of those that comes in at 5 in the morning and stays till 10 o'clock at night. I was not going to be that dad, that shop owner. So I made it a point, at that time I was opening up at 7:30 in the morning and I closed at 5, and I made it 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday. Now, there were occasions where I needed an extra hour to finish up a job, and I did that. There were occasions when the only way I was going to get caught up was to come in on Saturday and finish up a job. But that was the rare exception. I I was determined that I can do it in 5 days, and from the wee hours in the morning to the wee hours of night. I see a lot of guys that do that, and I'm just like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it to sacrifice your family for that. I mean, my kids were little, well, 10 and 11, but
Right.
they still need a dad. And
Sure.
so that was important. That was very important to me. So I made sure I was there.
Yeah, those are the weekends camping years with your kids that you just never forget, and they never forget because
Yep.
I grew up in Mentor, Ohio, 32 miles east of Cleveland, and some of the happiest memories I've got is my mom and dad bought this pop-up camper, and we put it in Buccaneer campgrounds, never forget it,
Mm.
and every weekend we would go out and we'd camp over the weekend and drive back, so yeah, yeah. So
And
anyway, what I'm hearing your advice is the advice that I've got from a lot of other shop owners: line in the sand.
yep. And even when it comes to vacation, I shut the shop down for a week to go on vacation with my family. It was it was that important to me to do. And I mean, here I am 28 years later, hard to believe.
Yeah.
Um, you know, did I lose a job or two because I was closed for the week? I may have, but I got my kids, I got my wife, and that's more important than any job out there.
Right, yeah. How important has like mentorship played in your career as a shop owner?
Well, mentorship it's huge. The nice thing is, I'm a Napa Auto Care Center. I don't know if I'm
Okay.
allowed to say that, but I did.
Yeah.
Um, and there's a nice community of all other shop owners within that network. And there were several gentlemen that had many years on me that I could go to and kind of like, hey, what about this? What about that? Blah, blah, blah. So while they maybe didn't come beside me and say, hey, I'll be your mentor, they helped mentor me without them maybe knowing it. And then in 2008, which would have been 10 years after I opened. Huh. Anyway, in 2008, I finally hired a coaching company. Um, I was they had approached me many times about joining them, and I'm like, no, I got this. I got this. I got it. I'm good. And while I was doing well, I didn't, a lot of people say I didn't know what I didn't know.
Right.
And when I finally gave in and hired this coaching company, and I had a coach that connects with me once a week, it's been a life changing to a game changer for the whole thing. To help me in times that I struggle. Sometimes my coach is there just, hey, I'm having a bad day. I just need to talk, and pulls me in off the ledge, so to speak, and gets my feet back on the ground.
Sure.
But definitely, they help push you in a direction that maybe you weren't comfortable doing by yourself, but you're like, all right, well, if you really want me to do that, I'll give it a try, and then you do it. And I'll tell you, one of the things that they hit on me right away was charging job supplies, and I'll talk about it anyway. I know sometimes people are up or down about that, but
Right.
I wasn't charging job supplies, and they were kind of like, well, how come? I said, well, it's just part of the job. It's just part of doing the work. It is what it is. So they got me, all right, let's just do 1% and we'll cap it off at $20 or whatever. I don't remember. And so I started charging job supplies, and it's like, wow, that's a little bit extra money to help pay for those supplies that you otherwise it's just an expense or whatever. And so that right there all of a sudden you start seeing, wow, I'm getting additional revenue here. And to me it's all legit. Now some people think it's not, but to me it's all legit because there's so many things that you use day in and day out that, a squirt of this here, a squirt of that there. Well, that still costs money somewhere. So
Right.
um
Sure.
but it was little things like that they helped me start tweaking um, my numbers to a point that I was like, wow, now I feel like I'm really profitable. So
So we recommend Cecil Bullard at the Institute because we get some, what was your coach Cecil, or you had some other company?
it was another company. I mean,
Yeah,
I'll
it's
say it
fine.
if I'm allowed to, but it wasn't. Cecil's a great guy. I've sat underneath a lot of training with him
Okay.
and his company. They have a lot of great training available. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons that we recommend them. Everybody that we've spoken to, that they put a ton of free information out there that really helps shop owners that are not, at that level yet where they can afford one. So anyway, and
Well, I'll just add that anyone that says they can't afford a coach of some sort
right,
need, needs to look at that a second chance time.
okay,
Um, I
yeah.
say you, I say you can't afford to be without one.
That's every single shop owner that I've spoken to, and I ask them usually at the end of each podcast, what's the one piece of information or advice that you would give to a newer shop owner? And every single one of them that has hired a coach has said that, hire a coach. I just had a podcast last month with a guy that had been in business over 20 years as in a repair shop, and he said, "Why do I need to hire a coach? I've been running a shop for 20 years." He hired a coach and doubled his revenues in 1 year. He said, I
Yep.
didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah,
So,
exactly it.
and that's it. So that's the best example. So any auto repair shop out there that's listening, you're hearing it from the horse's mouth, and from someone who does a lot of podcasts with a lot of successful shop owners, get a coach. It's probably the best thing. It is the best thing that you can possibly do. So
Absolutely.
I love asking this question because it's all conjecture, but I love asking, Keith, where do you think we're going? So we've got they're trying to sell us this new Green Deal, and I'm sure it's got nothing to do with trees or grass. It has to do with green. And then we've got our hybrids, and then we've got a possible new maybe changes in battery technology where we won't be trying to sell the public these ecological disasters that they call EVs right now. But in rural areas, forget it. It's all going to be internal combustion. Personally, I think I mentioned this on every podcast. I'm hoping for hydrogen because, drinkable water comes out the tailpipe. So we just got to figure out how to move it and store it without it blowing up, which is
Right.
kind of important. Uh, but it's all the infrastructure's there, all the gas stations. It's just the storage tanks and how we would, and we all have the internal combustion engines, even if the hybrids. So anyway, that's my personal hope. But anyway, I know, just conjecture. Where do you think we'll be in 10 or 20 years? What are we all
Oof.
going to be driving around in battery operated cars because we've got new battery technology and or what do you think? I know it's just guesswork, but
It's just guesswork. I know I've been accused of being a electric car hater
no.
because
Okay.
because I say it won't work for everybody, and so I've been accused like, oh, you just hate electric cars. No, I don't hate electric cars. I love electric cars. In fact, I would love for my wife to have one. I really would. But for them to come and say, hey, in 5 years, well, in fact, I think they were saying like by 2030, all the ICE engines are going to be gone. And I'm like, our power grid can't handle that already.
No.
and there's the technology isn't there. Do I think electric cars are going to become more in numbers? Absolutely. Do
Hmm.
I think the internal combustion engine is going away forever? I don't think so. I think there'll be some kind of changes. I mean, you could even look at I think it was Ford with
Hmm.
their Lightning, they're all electric Lightning pickup truck and blah blah
Right.
blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah. Well, they're scrapping that. And what are they doing? They're making an electric truck that has an internal combustion engine that's going to keep that battery charged so that you can drive longer on it.
Right.
So, it just seems like to say that we're going to get rid of the internal engine completely, I don't know how that would happen.
Oh, okay.
A lot has to change, and that might still be 40 to 50 years away. I don't know.
Yeah.
The hybrids are what I think makes a big change, and I'm kind of like with you with the hydrogen thing. Um, that makes a ton of sense. Just don't know how they're going to play it off.
Right.
But that's where I really, if you ask me, like, hey, where do you think it's going to go next? I really think it's going to be hydrogen. I think somehow they're going to figure it out. And hey, if we can get a guy up on the moon, why can't we figure out how to transport hydrogen safely?
That's a that's a good um yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Good question. Yeah, we can get a guy to a moon in the 1960s. So
Yeah,
and I've been to Kennedy Space Center and I've looked, at the rocket and stuff and this phone has more technology in it than that rocket. 1 million moving parts that
yep,
all had to work in unison.
yep,
1 million. That's what the plaque said. I read. I'm like, geez, and we did it.
yeah.
So anyway,
Did it more than once
more
too.
than once, right? Yep, yep. So, what role do you believe that, training and ongoing education play in an auto repair shop's success in today's market?
Mm, mm. You hit a sweet spot for me there, man.
Okay.
Um, I'm definitely a believer in ongoing training. In fact, all my employees here, they're obligated to do 40 hours a year training, and I make sure that I provide enough opportunities for that. We've been to Vision in the past. We've been to ASTA down in North Carolina in the past. This year, we're going to be heading up to Hershey, Pennsylvania for tools,
Okay.
which, if any of your listeners haven't experienced any of those, it's usually a 2 to 3 day intense training opportunities that offer anything from your beginning technicians to your more advanced technicians, from your service managers to your service advisors to your owners. I mean, there's so much training that's available, and so people say I don't have the time to do that, or what we even do is we shut down the shop for a day or two. It's that important to me, and people say, well, I can't afford to shut the shop down. Well, then you really need to be at training if you can't afford to shut the shop down.
Right.
So ongoing training is very, very important to me and to what we do here in order to stay up on the latest and greatest.
Hmm.
Are we perfect? Do we know everything? Absolutely not. Um, but any opportunity I can get to learn something new as an owner, or I can help my technicians learn something new, I take
Hmm.
full advantage of that.
Okay. And it obviously shows in your shop's success. I figured that's exactly how you were going to answer that because I attend all those events. I'm at ASTA, I'm at Tools, I'm at Vision. And the shop owners that are there are the smart shop owners that say, "Hey, this is way too important. The other stuff can wait." And the 40 hours mandatory. That's a lot. And it says a lot to your team and your culture that you value it that much that you make sure that they get that training so that you let your team know that, hey, I really care about you guys in your training. So it all fits into the culture. So it all comes back and that's a nice positive closed loop.
Hmm.
So anyway, Keith, I really want to thank you for your time this morning. I know you run a busy business and shop. So I appreciate you being on the podcast. You've given some really, really precise, very important advice on several topics that I think a lot of other shop owners in the future will be able to to take advantage of. And I will see you at, I guess, are you going to Vision?
No, I'm not going to Vision this year, but I'll
I'll,
be at Tools
I'll
in
see you at Tools.
what's that, the end of April, beginning of May, something like
Yeah,
that.
something like that. Yeah. And then I'll be at Tools and Asta. So, but I'll see you at Tools. So I'll be seeing you in a couple of months.
I look forward.
For additional automotive resources and exclusive content, follow us on Spotify and subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all our episodes. Thanks again for joining us in the driver's seat, and we'll see you next time for another thrilling episode of Top Shop.